Well, Dave Sharma was the Liberal member for Wentworth in Sydney. He's lost his seat now to the Teal Independent, Allegra Spender. He joins me now from the Sydney CBD. Thanks for joining us, Dave, and commiserations on your loss. I said on Saturday night, and I stand by it, that it's really tragic for the Liberal Party and the nation that someone like you is knocked out. But you've said that one of the key reasons, there's many reasons for an election defeat, but you've said that Scott Morrison's unpopularity was a key factor. Was that unpopularity based on things that Scott Morrison did, aspects of his character, or because of the positions the party took and the way he had to prosecute them as leader?
Look, I'd say, and I didn't intend that to be a personal reflection, and I don't. I mean, we were all unpopular. That's why we lost the election. Scott Morrison was the leader, and he takes responsibility ultimately for that. So it was a range of things. I think part of it, to be honest, was a bit of war weariness at the end of 2 years of the pandemic and all the disruptions and lockdown and turmoil that caused in people's lives. But also, you know, government seeking a fourth term, we'd accumulated a lot of barnacles and people had grown to dislike us for various things. And the Prime Minister as the leader, Scott Morrison, you know, ended up wearing the bulk of all of that as well. And it's undoubtedly true, and the national polling revealed this, was that, you know, as a government and as a Prime Minister, he had a net disapproval rating. Now, I'm not saying anything that's particularly insightful here, but obviously the reason we lost the election is because we weren't as popular as the other guys, and that reflects on all of us, not just Scott Morrison, it reflects on all of us.
Yeah, I don't contest the fact that he was unpopular. As you say, we have the data to show us that. But I think it's usually overstated, the idea of popularity in politics, because it usually goes to much more fundamental issues. For instance, John Howard was never popular and won election after election. Tony Abbott was never popular. He won a landslide to get into government. So there must have been much more at play in this election defeat. You've pointed to climate policy. But the thing is, in Wentworth and the other Teal seats, you won election after election with having more cautious policies on climate than Labor. This time you went to net zero by 2050 and lost.
Look, I think the challenge there was people didn't think we were fair dinkum about this. People didn't believe that we were sincere about wanting to address climate change. I support the policy we took. I was someone who supported us getting to net zero. I'm supportive of doing it in a responsible way, in a way that looks after the regions and industries that are going to be most impacted by this. But I think people got the sense we're talking out of both sides of our mouth on this issue. And I think it was the lack of sincerity here that hurt us. We weren't able to... People, you know, I could tell them till I was blue in the face about everything we were doing on renewable energy and reducing emissions and investments in green hydrogen hubs and low emissions aluminium, low emissions steel. But people fundamentally thought that we were just selling them a product. We didn't actually believe it ourselves. And I think that's what hurt us there. Not the only thing. I mean, that was true of a number of issues. And I think the other point I'd make, and this is an important one, is we weren't really making an offering, in my mind, about why we should be given a fourth term. We told the public why they shouldn't give Labor a first term and all the risks with that. But I don't think we really created much of a proposition about what sort of reform we would do or why people would want to vote for us rather than not vote for the other guys. And I think that was really a downfall of our strategy too.
No, I agree. There was not enough of a forward agenda. That's a criticism I made during the campaign, and we really didn't get anything till that last week and that launch and the home ownership policy. Otherwise, it was all about record. You talk about the public not believing the coalition on climate policy. That's because there was some mixed messaging. Here's Matt Canavan during the campaign.
Net zero is kind of dead anyway. I mean, Boris Johnson's already said he's walking away from it. He's pausing it because of the situation in Ukraine. Germany is investing in coal and gas infrastructure. And the Biden administration is running around the world trying to get all sorts of countries like Venezuela and Saudi Arabia and Iran even to produce more oil for themselves.
Well, Matt Canavan never supported the net zero by 2050 policy, but he's really just stating the obvious there, that at net zero, in practical terms, is not happening. We have seen a turning away from it in Europe and elsewhere because of their energy crisis. We have had the World Energy Forum tell us, of course, that on current technology we can't get there. Which brings me to the point of nuclear. You've pointed to this in the wash-up, and this goes to your other point. If you're going to say you'll get to net zero by 2050, you should be able to demonstrate that you're going to get there. And nuclear domestically would have demonstrated that you were serious about getting there.
Look, I agree fundamentally. I think we should have put forward civilian nuclear energy, or at least exploring it and lifting the legislative barriers to doing this as a point of differentiation with Labor, as a solution to an energy shortage, if you like, a global energy shortage, as a way to keep power prices down, as a way to improve our own energy security, and as a way to reduce our emissions. I think it's one of these policies that's a win-win. And look, I know it obviously would have been difficult politically for Labor to respond to that, and that would have also been a plus for us. That would have made our lives a little easier. But I think we needed a few bold ideas like that, which, by the time you're offering or pursuing a fourth term, I know can be difficult to conjure, but you need to always refresh yourself, and that includes with new policy ideas. And I think that would have been a good one to take to the last election.